Welcome back to the Marianne Hickman Show. Today, I want to introduce you to a dear friend of mine, Kristy Hunter. I met Kristy, it feels like a long time ago. This is one of those friendships that it feels like it's existed for longer than you actually have known each other. But what I love about Kristy and what you're going to love about her too is her deep connective ability. She has built such a powerful network. And when you say your network is your net worth, I don't know about you, I don't really love that phrase because it sounds like you're using people. However, when you do it right and you have such a genuine heart and such a genuine soul and your goal is to serve the people around you, that does build a network. When you want to build a business that actually thrives long term, it's because you're finding people to serve and you're solving their problems. When you build a business with partners, you're solving each other's problems and you are aligned in one central vision. Kristy has been able to do that by building events. She's been doing it by building groups on school and on Facebook. She's been just surrounding herself with the most amazing individuals. And trust me, you want to be on her short list. So listen to this episode. Check out Kristy's group. If you're into speaking, she's got an amazing school group growing. I'm excited for you to check it out.
Because we've got a whole podcasting going. How is that going?
Workshop. It's so fun. Yesterday, I spent probably 7 hours in Canva.
Amazing.
And getting Renee's book done.
Okay.
So that cookbook is going to be really cool. I was getting really hungry making it because it's all these winter soups and salad that are all detox things. So I'm very excited for it. And then she was adding more recipes and more recipes and more recipes. And I was like, no, this is a second cookbook. Let's just get this one pushed out.
One at a time. You're a brevity human. I love that about you because I talk and talk and talk because I'm a word human, right? I'm a singer and a songwriter and I just think everything's, and I love that you're always like, let's shorten this. Let's bring it, let's smaller. Less is more. So it's a good.
We were just talking about that with Kai this morning.
Yes.
Just like this big. And he made this really beautiful text. And I was like, let's split it. Let's test it with a two-line text. I sent out an email blast, last week sometime. And it was what I call the ugly email where there's no banners, there's no pictures, nothing. And it's just, hey, would you be interested in going on a trip? And I got a 30% response rate, which is unheard of in email.
For sure.
You get
you were also saying, do you want to go travel? Who doesn't want to travel? And then with someone as cool as you.
Wow.
Right. Wow. Of course it was a 30%. I don't know why you expected less.
It was so funny. I had 2 responses from people that are like, the romance of travel is lost on me anymore. And I was like, I hope I never get there.
Oh my goodness.
That would be so sad.
That would be sad.
I always want to travel. The world is so freaking huge.
There's just so many places to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the travel bug when I was in the Peace Corps in Mongolia, and I got to go to Russia and Mongolia and China and Korea. And
how long did you spend there?
We were there for 2 years.
Wait, Russia for 2 years, Mongolia for 2 years?
We lived that circuit. So we lived in Mongolia for 2 years, but we got to travel, we had vacation time, right? We were teachers.
Yeah.
And so we spent 2 weeks in China and Beijing, and we spent 2 weeks up in Novosibirsk, Russia, and we had just had a layover in Seoul, Korea, but it was fun.
Oh, how long was your layover?
Just 2 days. We ate kimchi donuts, which I was not, I didn't know. I thought I was getting a breakfast donut, a jelly-filled donut. I bit into it. It was cabbage, gross kimchi. I was like,
oh my gosh.
It was so hot. It was so spicy. And my husband was laughing his head off. And I'm like, this is the grossest thing I've ever tasted in my life. But it's because I wasn't expecting it.
Well, yeah. It's like eating a raisin cookie that you think it's a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. So and he loved it. He ate the whole thing and was like, this is so good. I'm like, well, you know what it is.
Expectations versus reality.
Okay. We're good. You guys can start.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Okay, we'll just keep going. So it was a 2-year circuit with the Peace Corps, Mongolia, a little bit of Korea, Russia,
China.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk a little bit about that when you do your keynote, but
yes, it was a magical time of my life, honestly. My husband and I went really to get away because we'd been married 5 years. I couldn't get pregnant. I was in this place of just having a really hard time because everyone around me, I'm from Utah. And for those of you who don't know, in Utah, everyone like gets married and gets pregnant like immediately. It's just this thing.
We're known for that.
We're known for that.
Yeah.
And I needed to get away. And I think it's a miracle that I ran into a Peace Corps recruiter at a library that said, hey, have you heard of the Peace Corps? And I was like, no. You have to have a 4-year degree. You need to be a professional in order to do this. And then they assign you to a country. Like I'd never really heard of Mongolia. And all of a sudden we're going across the country. We're living in a tent.
Yeah.
We're chopping wood. We're carrying water. We're working as teacher trainers. I got to do life skills training. I'm a recreational therapist. So in the summers, we did life skills camps.
Who are you training?
Teens.
Are you training like native Mongolians?
So basically, we were teacher trainers to teach Mongolian teachers how to teach English.
Interesting.
So it's like English is a second language, kind of like if we were in our high schools and we have someone teaching French.
Sure.
They're like an American, but they teach French.
Right.
This is a Mongolian who's teaching English.
Okay.
So we helped train them on like different methodologies they could use and also really helping them fine tune their English. Because as we know, when you become like a Spanish teacher, maybe you are or not as fluent as you could be. Right,
exactly.
So we're helping them really fine tune those skills.
So they had already learned English by the time you got there, but you were helping just
the
make it
teachers
better.
had, yes.
Okay.
So the teachers, and some of them were more advanced and some of them were less. Like those who had traveled and had spoken English, like they'd gone to England or they had gone to different countries. They were a lot further along than those who had just done university studies.
I'm sure.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Listen, I'm interrupting my own show because I want to give you something. Now, you guys all want to get on more stages. I've got a free resource for you of stages that are just clamoring for guests. They need guests on a daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis. This is my podcast database. Now, what I'm going to do is have you go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put in your information there, I'm going to send this to you totally for free. Open up this database. You're going to click through it, find the next podcast that's relevant to your topic, hit the application button, show up on their podcast, get in front of their people, and share your content. Remember, mariannehickman.com/database. Let's get you unlocked.
But in Mongolia, they have everybody learn English. So you learn English from first grade on.
Wow.
Like, so everyone is supposed to learn English.
Yeah.
You get to choose between English or Russian, actually.
Okay.
But most people are doing one or both.
Yeah. Okay.
So
is it for their jobs or for tourism or
tourism is a lot of it, and just there is Mongolia is an interesting country because it was a satellite.
This is Attila the Hun's country.
Yes. Oh, so they call him Genghis Khan instead of Genghis. It's Genghis.
Okay, yeah.
And every house has a of Genghis Khan or Genghis hanging up, and this is not like they idolize this human.
Really?
Yes. And it's a very interesting country because everyone has a cell phone and yet there are no flushing toilets.
Okay, I went to Kenya and experienced the same thing. I'm like, where do you charge this?
Yeah.
Like, your house is made out of poop and sticks. Like, where are you charging your phone?
So the first year we were there, we only had electricity every other day for 4 hours.
So they like turned it on for you.
And they would turn it on, like you would have like this gas generator. And then we got connected to the main line for the second year. And that was crazy because the first year, no one had cell phones. There was one little internet cafe that you could go to. And then the second year, all of a sudden, everyone had cell phones because all of a sudden we had 24-hour electricity.
Yeah.
And so people had computers, people had cell phones. There was this huge shift. And what was really interesting is families went from all of a sudden TVs were on all the time and people had TVs.
And it happened in the space of a year?
In a year. It was so interesting to watch a shift happen in this little town called Murin. And we were at the very, very northern end of Mongolia and watch that shift occur. Because it's really
breaks my heart.
It's kind of crazy what technology can be good.
Yeah, of course.
But at the same time, we lost a lot. I mean, when the first year we were there, people spent most of their time in the evenings. They would play chess by candlelight. They would
so
be
enchanting.
playing with
an ankle bone?
No, these were like goat and sheep ankle bones.
Okay.
And they use them like dice. And so every side of the bone has it means something different. And different things, and they will play. There's like 20 different games you can play with ankle bones. And to see that shift happen to now everyone's at home turning on the TV and watching mostly random stuff from other countries that are dubbed. And it was interesting.
Oh, I have a judgment on that, but I probably shouldn't have. Like, that's sad for me. I judge that to be sad. I probably shouldn't, but there's an enchantment of your native culture that it sounds like just got lost.
Well, I think
maybe not completely.
But I don't think completely, but there was definitely a shift. And we have to realize I was in a really rural town. So probably this would all happened in the capital quite a few years earlier,
I'm sure.
right? But as it slowly, pushes out and different things. But they are very deep in culture. Yeah. The people, they wear their nomadic dells. They have special like uniforms, types of things that they wear. They're very thick, very warm because it's like -40 there, you guys. It's freezing all the time.
Oh, my fingers just lost feeling with you saying that.
But I still am connected with the teachers that I taught there.
Which is thank you for the internet, right?
Yes,
that's
on
why
Facebook.
we love it.
I have a couple that actually have moved to America that I am still in contact with. So, it's an amazing thing. Connection is so important to me, like connecting to people and networking with people and just believing in people. So I just loved my time there.
Where does that come from? Because as we've gotten to know each other, gosh, when did we meet? Like, it seems like we've known each other forever.
We met almost 1 year ago exactly.
It seems like way longer than that in the best of ways. Like, when did Kristy not happen to be in my life? Like, I just so am grateful for you and the energy that you put out there. But as we've interacted and I watch what you're building with your business and I watch how you interact with people and listening to you. I mean, you can tell when someone's like pitching something and and I don't want to put a negative light on pitching, but when they're fluffing it up and building something up and kind of exaggerating a little bit. You can tell when that's happening. And the far side of that spectrum is they're just straight up lying.
Yes.
Right? They're swindling people. But then you can tell when someone's really deep into their passion and they really care about something and they're talking about it and bragging about it because they love it so much. Right?
Yes.
And that's the best kind of sales. Right? When we talk sales.
Well, and then you're don't even feel like you're selling.
Exactly.
And that's the best thing because that is just from authenticity.
Yeah.
And it's actually, you're not really caring if they buy or not because you're just like, can I serve you? If I can serve you, then great. Like, this is what I do and I love what I do. And I'm very lucky. I get to be a vocal coach and I work with hundreds of people each year trying to help them really become more confident with their voice and being able to speak and sing. So I've been a performer my whole life. I think my first play I was 5.
Oh, that's so cute. I was in Saturday's Warrior when I was like 7.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it. I had like no lines, but it was awesome.
So good, right? There's something about being in the theater world.
I miss it so much.
You learn at a very young age that it takes a team.
Yeah.
Because even if you are a one-woman show, which there are out there, there's one-woman shows, guess what? They still need a lighting crew. Mm-hmm. They still need stage crew. They still need someone taking care of their microphone.
And their babies.
And their babies and their makeup and all that. So it really, a team is so important.
Yeah.
And you learn at a young age, like, no matter what part of that team you are, whether you're the tree, you're right, in the background, right? That tree is important. Even if you move the tree in the dark, say you're a set mover.
I used to be that. I was a set mover in high school. I had to dress in all black and I had to rotate the sets and all that. And when you missed, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so important, right?
Yeah.
It is so important. And so I think from a very young age, I realized like you cannot do it by yourself. Like if you want a show to be phenomenal, you need so many working pieces. So that's where kind of my love of collaboration and my love of working with people started. And then as I got married and I went to the Peace Corps and I collaborated with so many people there. And then I came back and started having kids, right? Mm-hmm, you start having kids and you're raising these kids and you start realizing, oh, you know what? In order to raise these kids, it takes a village. Like,
gosh. And not only is it takes a village, but I've been thinking about a lot this phraseology a lot recently. It does take a village. But the other side of that is your village will raise your kids.
Yes.
Not just it takes a village to raise your kids, but whatever village you're in will raise your children. And that makes us ask ourselves, do I like my village? Mm-hmm. Do I like the people that I'm exposing my kids to? Do they like the people that I'm around? And I have just had, especially in the last couple of years, I'm like, holy crap. There's some people that I want in my village and I need proximity. I want closeness to them for my team.
Yes.
But there are some people like, please don't repeat those habits.
Right.
I want to create distance from that.
Right.
You know, and in terms of, this is one of the reasons we homeschool and other influences, and getting to know the parents of my kids' friends and understanding, do we have the same values? I just met, actually haven't met her yet. It was a friend, it was my daughter's friend's mom.
Okay.
So there she is. And then there's me, and there's a girl in the middle who's friends with both of us.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I haven't met my daughter's friend's mom yet. And I didn't know a lot about her. And I came to find out that there's actually beautiful things about her. And I do want to get close to her. And I was like, wow, our values match. And we're just, you know, there's these things that our girls are working out that we should work together on. Right. So your village will raise your child.
Which is one of my favorite things. So because I love people so much, I often I kind of collect humans.
Yeah,
like
you do.
to
And
be
you do
my
beautifully.
friends.
Yeah.
And so my kids don't really, in fact, my daughter told me, I have a 15-year-old. And the other day she's like, Mom, you're really sneaky. And I'm like, really? And she's like, over the years, you've become best friends with all of my parents' friends. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you always get invited to the parties. Like, you're always there. Like and they come to our house when we're having a party, and like the parents are, and I'm like, yeah, because then I know what's going on. I said, it's a two-way thing. It's because I love the people and I want to influence them and be a positive light in their life. Mm-hmm. But also, I care about you too much to just let you go somewhere I don't know where you are. And, realizing like I'm building these relationships for me, but also for you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to just let you go and have a sleepover at someone's house when I've never met their parents.
Yeah,
ever.
I wouldn't either.
Like, that's not going to happen.
That's just dangerous.
Right? That's just going to be dangerous. But when I get to know people and I create relationships and I create structure that I'm like, hey, we have the same values, just like you said, then we can build these beautiful relationship that you want to keep on forever, right? You want to keep growing, and you want to go support their kids when they're playing football, or their kids when they're doing these things, and it just becomes a family almost.
Yeah,
right?
It does. There's people that we are friends with that Richard has brought into my world. I didn't know him except through him, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you've been friends with these kids since high school, college. That's incredible. That says something about both of you.
Well, and I think it's so important, and it's important in business because when my sister was running a little company, and it's called Cindy Wood Crafts. And
she just sent me a loom.
Did she?
She gives me an ornament every year from the loom of that year, and I love them all, and they always go to my tree. And I just got the little star one.
Yes, so cute.
Thank you, Cindy.
We love you, Cindy. So about 11 years ago, she had this little company. She started from a 4-H company, right, for her kids. And she was just doing it as a side gig. Well, my husband was in a position, he was going to lose his job. And he was really overwhelmed, and he wanted to change careers. And basically, I had been told by God this was going to happen. Like, he'd been like, Jason's going to lose his job, and you're not supposed to tell him this, but this is going to happen in the next year, and you need to be prepared. And I was like, well, that's information I don't know if I wanted, right?
Thanks for the warning.
But when he came home that day, and he was just like almost in tears, he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, they don't want me there. I ought to do something. I said, yeah, I know. And we went from him having a full-time career to deciding he wanted to go back to school and become a chef. Like, this was like this crazy shift. He's a teacher, he's going to become a chef. And I realized I was going to lose my house if I didn't do something. Yeah. But I had a brand new baby. Oh, girl. And I had two other children. And I was like, I don't want to go back to like everyday 9-to-5 work. I can't do it. So I prayed. And I was like, go talk to Cindy. And I went over to my sister. I said, hey, what if I grew your little $30,000 side business into a bigger company so I can pay my mortgage? And
that pitch is like,
and she smiled at me.
Who can say no to you?
Right? And she smiled at me. She's like, you can try. I was like, okay, guess what, you guys? I wasn't a marketing director. I was a recreational therapist. I was a singer. I was a performer. And I was like, today I'm a marketing director. Yeah. And I didn't have a choice. My husband went from earning $60,000 a year to $10 an hour.
Isn't it amazing what you're capable of when you have no other choice?
There was no choice. It was like, okay, I'm going to make this work. And so I ended up like reaching out to all of these people. This was when social media was new. Yeah, it was very new. YouTube was new. There was things. And I reached out to all of these people who were doing knitting crafts on the plastic looms, the plastic nifty knitter looms that were just cheap and not really well made. And I reached out to them and said, hey, would you like to try a wooden loom? And they said yes. So I sent them free wooden looms and they loved them. So now all of a sudden they're talking about it. And then I'm like, hey, what if we created a pattern store within our website? So then I built a website. We rebuilt our website. So that first year we quadrupled. We went we went over 100,000 that first year.
Awesome.
And then in the next 2 years, we doubled again. We went from having 2 gauges of looms to having like 7 gauges and like 200 plus looms. Like it just kept going.
Yeah.
And it was all because of the collaborations. I give complete credit to all of these amazing designers. I ended up bringing on like 12 different designers who were creating patterns with our looms and then talking about it because they loved them.
Yeah, yeah.
We had an amazing product. We're called the Cadillacs of all looms. Like we are, they're expensive. They're definitely an investment.
Yeah.
An heirloom that you will use forever and
heirloom.
ever. Yes,
Is
an
that where that
heirloom,
comes from?
right? Yes, right?
I'm learning new things. I'm adding that to my Wikipedia. That's going to come up later. I'm going to win Trivial Pursuit with that question.
But the connections were the real thing. We built a platform on Facebook with over 6,000 loomers called I Love Cindywood Looms.
Oh my gosh.
And just these were all people, and looming is a very small niche, or niche, however you want to say that word.
I've been told both ways. I'm like, I'm going to call it a niche. I don't know.
A niche. Anyway, so
a niche.
that word.
Yeah, that one.
Anyway, but it's really pretty unique, right? It's pretty small.
Which is what you want.
Which is what you want, right?
Yeah.
And these people love my sister.
Yeah.
And they love me. And when they call, they would only get one of us. Like we were customer service.
Yeah, yeah.
And it created these relationships with these women who were just incredible. And the best part was that every person who bought a loom, you can only make so many products for yourself before you have to start giving them away.
Yeah, Addie.
Right? Is this your daughter, right?
Yes.
So then
she has a whole room full of stuffies. I'm like, you have to start selling
You're
me.
giving them to homeless people. You're giving them to hospitals. You're like serving. And so then there was this whole amazingness about service, right? That we're creating this serving world. So I did that for 10 years and I loved it. I loved working with my sister. I loved growing this company. And we hit a point where she's 15 years older than me. And we hit a point where she was like, I'm having grandbabies. I don't really want to grow anymore. And I was like, okay. And I'm a growing human.
Right.
I'm like, what does that mean, right?
Mean?
But she didn't want to outsource. We kind of gotten to the point we were in her house, right?
Yeah,
We were building our thing. And we were kind of getting to the point that we couldn't cut any more looms. We couldn't do it. And she does all of the creating of the looms.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing the marketing, but she's like sanding them, cutting them. We have a couple workers that are pegging them. These are handmade, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of the point is like, we're either sending this to China and like kind of going to find a better way to do this, right? Or we can't grow.
We have to cap.
We have to cap. And she didn't want to outsource, which I totally respect.
Well, yeah, I get that too. Addie doesn't want to either.
This is her baby, right?
Yeah.
It's her baby.
And you can't say they're handmade if they're not.
You can't. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm about. She's very successful in other ways with their family and different things. And it was never about growing a business for her.
Yeah.
It was about helping people and about creating this. So I hit this crossroads of like, okay. And then she's like, well, do you want to take this company over when I retire? And I had to think because I loved the people and I loved marketing and I can loom. I have made hats, but I don't love making looms.
Right.
Like when I would go in the garage and help with the sanding and the cutting and I did not enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
And I knew that without Cindy, that part wasn't going to happen. And even hiring someone to do that part and the profit margins, because my sister is the sweetest human in the world, she keeps the profit margin like this big.
Yeah.
Like, because she's all about like getting these to the people so they can serve. And I was like, I'm here trying to make you money. And she's like, I'm here trying to save people money. I'm like, that's why we battle.
You can do both.
You can do both. But there's like that thing. And so in 2022, I went, I don't think so. I don't think that's what I want. I need to decide what I want to be when I grow up. So in the meantime, I had been vocal coaching on the side. I'd been music director at Center Stage Youth Performers, which is my favorite place to be.
Which is where my daughter met you.
Where I met your daughter. Because I don't know, I shine working with these wonderful humans. And I love being a musical director. But it was part-time, right?
Right.
And in my brain, I was like, well, can that be a full-time thing? Can I make that my thing? Really?
I love these questions that are like you almost hesitate to ask.
Like those questions. And so I spent a year trying to figure out like, okay, what do I want to do? And I grew that a little bit. I was like, well, maybe I'll be a real estate investor. Maybe I'll do this. That's actually why I met Marianne. Mm-hmm. So I ended up at UFD, where you were. And it was really funny because I ended up there and this gentleman was sitting next to me and he was so into it. Like when they said, are you going to show up? Stuff. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, Jonathan, you're into this. Uh-huh. And you told us, you said, I want you to lean to your neighbor and I want you to ask them why they're here and what they're hoping to get out of this.
Yeah.
Okay. So you asked that question. Yeah. He asked me, And I said, I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm here. And I don't know where I'm going. And he told me, by the end of this weekend, if you give 100%, I promise you will know.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Right? And
That's
I
awesome.
was like, how in the world are you so confident in that when I've been like, should I go to speech pathology school? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, how in the world do you know? But I witnessed my first breakthrough when you did that on stage, and everything in my body said, you're supposed to do that. I was like, okay.
Jonathan was right.
I don't know what that is. I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm supposed to do that. And it created this year of amazingness that happened because I decided that weekend to not only sign up to become certified in breakthrough, but I decided that day that I was going to grow my vocal connection studio. And I ended up tripling my studio this year.
That's awesome. And you had 100% close ratio on your students.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Like if I get someone, if somebody walks into my studio and we do a session, generally they sign up to work with me for at least 3 to 4 months. And so usually years.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't want to work with me for years? It's so fun. We have so much fun. It's like the best thing.
It is.
It's the best thing. And so it's been really remarkable. But something I realized is one-on-one, you run out of time. I have 45 students right now. And besides teaching my 100 plus students that I teach at Center Stage Youth Performers, I'm working with both adults and kids now. I'm working with homeschool people. I'm working with speakers. Like it's growing, but I'm like, I want to be able to impact more people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's why just recently I started what's called the Heart-Centered Speaker Network on School because I love people. This year alone, I've probably gone to 15 events.
Yeah.
And at every event I go to, I don't only go there because I like want to learn from the speakers or who was there. I think UFD like totally like flipped on the switch of me that I'm like, events are the coolest
They
place
are
ever.
the coolest thing. We got robbed of them in 2020 and now they're back.
You meet so many people. But when I meet those people, like I really connect at a level like, no, like really, how can I help you?
Yeah, yeah.
Like what can we have a symbiotic relationship and grow with each other? So when I collect their card, I actually call them.
Well, and that Renee and I were just talking literally yesterday about you're going to an event, right? When is that? This weekend? Next weekend? When is that? Next weekend. That's right. The wedding. That's a different event. We don't need to do business cards at that event. Just so you know. But you were talking about business cards and like, should I get a bunch printed?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm part of a networking group.
Right.
And everybody was asking me for my business card.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I know what everybody does with them.
they all go in the trash. So that's what Renee, for those of you that can't hear Renee, she's like, everyone, when we pass out business cards, like playing cards, it's just filling the landfills. Really, that's what it is. And so Renee and I were talking yesterday and she's like, do you think I should get more printed? And I was like, I don't think so, because we know what happens to them. And I said, the number one thing I do is exactly what you're talking about is I start a actual conversation. I'm going to say, when can I have you on my podcast? Or how can we collaborate? Let's go out for coffee next week or whatever it is. And I've got Anne-Marie that I've connected with. She's going to come on the show. I've got Deb Gabor, who I had on the show. It's because I went to an event and no business cards. None.
Yeah.
I'm getting your phone number and I'm either calling you like you're saying.
Let's get it going.
Or
If
do
you
something.
do collect a business card, do not throw it away. That is gold to me. Like you just
I put it in my phone. I take a picture of it and import all the data and send a text.
and have the information.
Yeah.
Like use that. If you're not following up with these people and creating relationships, that is your loss.
Yep.
Because and I always say, people are always like, oh, give out your information. I'm like, no, get information.
I get as many as I can.
You want to get the information from them because you don't know, you don't have control over whether they follow up with you.
Yep.
But you do have control over what you do with it. And what's really important is being there. When we just did your speak off, I think I connected with at least 20 people in that room.
Good.
And it was just such a great feeling to really get to know them and get to know what they're about and what they're doing and know like, oh my gosh, I want to do more with you.
Yeah.
So that's why I've created this Heart-Centered Speaker Network. And it was really cool because as I started I wanted 100 founding members because I wanted 100, they were free. The first 100 people got to get in for free. And I did it in a week.
I was blown away.
And people were like, how'd you do that in a week? I said, because I've been going to all these events and talking to people. So it was really easy to be like, hey, I'm creating this and I want you to be a founding member because I want this to be a collaboration effort. I want people to come in here and practice their speaking, fine tune their message, know exactly what they're doing, know that it's heart-centered so they don't feel like they're being salesy. And then I also want people to collaborate and create events, create retreats, create summits, and really work together. Now, I'm not keeping it a free community forever because I don't want just scammers or fake profiles and things in there.
No, you have to put a paywall up.
Really
And you're moderating it, which is worth your time.
And I'm moderating it, worth my time. But I really wanted those first 100 people, the people like either I knew personally or people that my people knew personally. And it did. It grew in 7 days because it was like, yeah, let's do this. This is amazing. And I think that's the real importance of creating real relationships. Because when I reached out to these people, they knew me, they'd met me, they had felt my presence at different events and knew that I was genuine.
People will run through a wall for you.
Knew that I was authentic, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to be on there trying to tell them things that are not going to help them.
Yeah. And what's crazy is what you've built. And I'm reading Natalie Dawson's book on teamwork. She's just someone I look up to a lot. I cannot wait to have her on the show. Natalie, if you're listening, you're invited. So, Hope, give me Natalie's number.
Right now.
Give me Natalie's number. But she wrote a book called Teamwork about building teams in business. And that's what I really wanted to chat about because you have this gift and this ability for bringing people in authentically, right? And bringing them in part of your world authentically. You're not promising XYZ and then not delivering it. It's just like, come hang with me. And that's really wonderful to do in friendships because we just do stuff together. But when it comes to business, now we're asking different questions. It's how can we grow together? How can we support one another? And I'll just be honest, my hesitancy, or maybe this is my limiting belief and I need a breakthrough on it, is that it is challenging to build a team because what if you're just brand new, starting a business, your business doesn't have revenue yet. And typically businesses don't have like a huge profit margins until the first, second, or third year, mostly toward the end when you've got, you've front loaded all of your investment into your business. And when you don't have profit margins that are really substantial, it's really hard to pay salaries.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in my world, a limiting belief has been, I can't bring people onto my team because what's in it for them? I can't pay them a $100,000 salary when my business is brand new. I will be able to later, but if I don't have something monetary that I can give, why would they even want to be part of my business?
I think a big part is having people see a vision of what we can make together.
Yeah.
Right? When we have a vision of like, look at what we can build if we come at it together, the other answers kind of answer themselves. I'm realizing
because you did that with Sindwood. There was $30,000. That's not enough for a salary.
There was.
You kidding?
Yeah, there was. And she, like, I will say, my sister was in a position that she could pay me $1,000 a month if I grew her business, right?
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I earned it, right? I was like, I can make this happen. And we did that. And there was this need, and there was also this need of me proving like, I'm not one who likes to take something if I don't earn it.
Yeah.
That's very important to me. And so the fact she believed in me to do that was huge. I've realized this too about myself. Growing up, I wanted to be teacher's pet all the time. All the time. I was the person who was like, I want to do the best for you. I want to get the stars. I want to like be your biggest helper because words of affirmation is my love language.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I hear other people, that's why I like applause. Sometimes my daughter says it's not words, it's sounds of affirmation, Mom.
You can applaud in any language.
I can applaud in any language, right? So
except in China when they're like,
this feeling of being a part of a team. When I would do something and she told me, wow, Kristy, you did so well at that. This is growing so well. It made me want to do more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I find that when we find the people that match like our needs, that's when real, the symbiotic relationship happens and magic happens.
Yeah.
Because I noticed as a solopreneur at times, I was missing that. It's like I'm coming up with the ideas, I'm trying to figure it out. When I'm one-on-one with my students, it just shines because we give that back and forth and it just feels so good. But when I'm like, I've got to create content for myself or I have to do this, I would really struggle because I didn't have that mirror That feedback. And so that's something I've been really craving and missing. And maybe that's another reason why I've been looking for more collaboration.
Yeah, I love collaboration. It is one of my favorite things. That's why I started this podcast, is to collaborate with people.
Yes.
And just find people that I can, I can promote Deb's work and I can promote your work. And okay, so I want to tell the story. I wasn't planning on doing this today, but I want to tell the story of what just happened between this universe just happened.
All right.
Can we go there?
We can. I just wasn't sure if we were going there.
I want to. This podcast will probably go out in like 2 weeks. So I think, but we're not going to let all of the cat out of the bag. Maybe just a little bit.
Little cat
face.
Just the
out
face.
Of the bag. So, but the reason that I want to share this is because it was so miraculous, and that's the right word for it.
Yeah.
For
it really
me,
was.
and I hope for you too, because Richard and I, was it Sunday that we were talking?
It was Halloween.
It was Halloween day. That's right. It was Thursday.
Day.
It was a week ago today.
It was 1 week ago.
Oh my gosh. So a week ago today, Richard and I were jamming, and we were just thinking like, man, I love working with Kristy. I mean, when you started in the Mastery Hive, even the daily accountability call before the Mastery Hive really launched, we're like, let's put an event on the calendar. And you pulled it off, and you put an event on the calendar, having never done an event before. You pulled the whole thing together. You filled the room. Everyone loved it. There was I listened to the audience, and they were just so grateful to be there. And you made something that people loved. And I watched that consistency show up. And we have been in our business, like we have I think all of our business is here. Kai is on the phone. We also brought on Kai. But he was our entire business was in this room this morning,
right.
With all of us. And when we were thinking, we need this certain position filled, and we need someone to do this thing. And that was like on the back burner. Okay, we're going to put it on the radar that we're looking for someone to do this specific thing. And then over here on an entirely different stove is like, I love Kristy so much. I love working with Kristy so much. She's amazing. And we were in the same kitchen with these two thoughts, right? And then you sent me a message because you had interviewed ChatGPT and had ChatGPT interview you, and I got the results from it. And then I was like, I just have to call Kristy just to talk about this message that you sent me.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in my massage chair upstairs, just listening. My kids aren't here because they're with their bio dad on Halloween. And I'm just listening and listening and listening and listening. And right before I called you, was it right before I called Kristy that you and I said that? Or was it I think it was right before we called. I think
it was, yeah. Right before we called.
It was like, how do we work with Kristy? How do we bring Kristy on the team?
And it was really just kind of the question between the two of us of, why doesn't she just come work for us?
Yeah, that's what we said.
That's what we said. We were like, why doesn't she just come work for us?
What is crazy about this is for the last few months, I've been asked by so many people, what is your niche? And who are you talking to? And what is the avatar? Multiple times. And every time I'm just like, I just want to help people.
Yeah.
I just want to serve people. I just want to be the person that when someone says, I need this to happen, I'm like, okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah, and you walk people to the top of mountains. You're like the modern day Patch Adams.
That's what I love. I love people to say, I want to be on a podcast. Okay, I'm going to get you on a podcast. I want to climb to a waterfall. Okay, I'm going to get you on a waterfall. I want to perform in front of people. Okay, I'm going to give you a stage.
Yeah.
I want to be a person that makes it so other people's dreams come true.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I can't help but think of that movie with Robin Williams.
Yes.
Right? When the lady's like, I want a swimming pool of spaghetti. You would make that happen.
I would totally do that. And as a rec therapist, that's what I would do at care centers, right?
Yeah.
When you go in and people would be like, they're just so sad and bored. And it's like, well, what do you love to do?
Yeah.
And then you make it happen.
Yeah.
Even if they've had a stroke. Like, you can teach people how to do things with one hand. You can bring people in to help them. I had a woman who was a English teacher for years, and she's so misreading, but she had a stroke. I went in and read to her every day.
Oh.
And it was just the most beautiful thing. We read Tuesdays with Maurice together. And I remember just bawling together with this woman, and she couldn't even speak, but this connection we made with each other, there was so much love. And it was 10 minutes of reading a day that created that connection because she missed books.
Wow.
And just realizing that everybody's missing something. And we have the ability, if we really listen, to find out what that is and help them get it.
You're the catalyst queen.
That is just, that is something. So I was struggling this, and we got on the phone, and you're talking to me, and you're trying to help me figure out my ikigai. I'm like, I know what my ikigai is. I know that I'm supposed to help people. Like, people. I love people. And finally, I just blurted out, I'm like, why can't I just work for you?
And I was like, Richard, did you hear that? He's so
Immediately, we just both lock eyes and just like, Whoa.
What just happened? It was like two galaxies collided and made this, because it was like, we literally had just said that.
And that was only the first aha.
And that happened again, like less than a day later. It was that night. It was that afternoon.
Later that night, we were just like, okay, we know now that she wants to come work for us, but what are we going to have her do?
I remember on the phone, I was like, I don't know what this looks like yet, but I'm going to figure it out, because this is the who, not how.
Yeah.
Right?
We're just like, we don't know what we're going to have her do yet. What would we have her do? We know we want her to come work for us, but what would we have her do?
I hate that word for
with.
It's with.
Work with, yes.
Work with us.
We know that we want her to come work with
Collaborate
us.
together.
Yes, it's a
But
collaborate.
but what would we have her do?
And we were just like, I don't know. Let me pray about it. I remember saying on the phone, I don't know. I got to put some heart and brain and prayer into this, because I don't figure that out yet. And then I think we were texting on the way to Richard's brother's house for Halloween. And then we had our second, like, mind belled moment. And Rich and I looked at each other. And for a half second, I was like, we can't keep this gaze because you're driving and you have to look at the road. But it was like, oh my gosh, I think I know what it is. And finally, these two different stoves came together in the same kitchen, became the same stove, and all of these ideas came to the same place. You remember that?
It was just like, how come we didn't think of this from the beginning?
I know, we felt like such idiots. At least I did. I was like, duh. Kristy's so good at people, at connecting people in an authentic way. She's got an incredible network of the best individuals that I can possibly put together in a room. I would feel honored, not just safe, but honored, introducing you to someone, right? Like,
Thank you. That makes me feel very good.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way. Like I'm often promoting everything Marianne does, because first of all, she's changed my world this year.
You did that.
In so many ways. Well, I did that, but you encouraged me.
Oh yeah. I will encourage you.
And I will tell you that those words of affirmation, the reason your accountability call has been so important to me, the reason your Hive call is so important to me, is because I know you're in my corner.
Absolutely.
So when I say I'm going to publish a song, or when I say I know she's going to go listen to it. She's going to actually listen to the song I publish.
You should have seen Richard listening to it. He's like, this is so good.
Right? Like, and that makes it so I know if I tell somebody else that they should come into your Hive, or they should come to an event you're doing. I've been to so many events this year, and a lot of them have been good, and some of them have been really boring. But I'll tell you, anytime I'm in a room with Marianne, I know that you are going to bring the energy, you're going to bring the love, you're going to bring the connection, and you're going to push people. And that's the part some people get uncomfortable with, is that you really do push people to become more. You don't let people just be lazy. And I love that.
With permission.
With permission.
I'm not going to push you where you don't want to go.
No, it's completely with love, but you do it in a way that it's like, I know you can. And I'm not going to give you every step that you have to make. I'm going to let you figure it out a little bit. But I know you can, and it's okay that it's messy. As I was building that Power Within event, there were days I wanted to throw in the towel.
I remember we were on the call. I'm like, Kristy, don't give up.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to buy tickets. What the heck? I was really having a hard time. And you're like, you are going to move forward. Like, you're doing this. Like, even if you're the only person in the room, you're doing this. We ended up with 60 people in that room.
It was awesome.
And it was
very
amazing.
first event of the series.
And it was fabulous. And I realized I would rather be a team planning an event than be the main person planning an event. I realized that it's so important when you bring people together that you all have a common goal. And you
that
can
vision
feel that vision, and that you can build it. And honestly, yesterday, a friend of mine, I was texting back and forth about this opportunity, and because I'd been in one meeting where someone said, why would you build somebody else's business? And they were kind of like, they pushed this at me, right? Because I've been trying to build my own business, which I have.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why would I? And so I texted a friend of mine, and I was like, I'm kind of having this battle. What do I want to do? And she said, well, how do you feel when you think about working with Marianne? Like, well, how does it make you feel? And I said, it makes me feel giddy, like giggly and excited, because anytime I'm in a room with you, I know magic's going to happen.
And I feel the same way.
I was like, so why would I not want to do that?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I'm like, imagine that the influence and the power and the genuine soul. Like, I can be a very rough around the edges person. And part of that is very beneficial, because it is the warrior girl that pushes out and like, get out there, get on the battlefield. You got this, go. But it also, I know that it takes work for me to step into my healer in a business space.
Yes.
With my kids, I'm like all there all the time, right? I'm like, cuddle the babies, do their hair and all that. But in business, I'm cracking the whip. I'm like, let's freaking go. And that can be scary sometimes for a lot of people, right? And they need another touch and they need another nurture. And when I was like, I need to saddle up with Kristy, because while I'm gung-ho in the back producing videos and pushing out content and up at 4:30 in the morning and Richard and I are like, go, 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 she can be there to love and to nurture and to encourage and push them again toward the same vision. But when I'm not holding their hand because I'm, building a website or making Richard build a website or something like that.
Thank you, Richard.
It's someone else is there.
Yes.
And it's the law of the second witness. This is something that I learned, actually through scripture study, is that there is one person can say something and it can be either accepted but most of the time it's like dismissed. But when the second person says the same thing, here's what happens. You are both leading toward a central point. It's called the power of the first follower. I like to think of it as this. And when you hang up a picture on a single nail, that picture can swivel and pivot. But when you have two nails holding the same string, that picture's not going anywhere.
And then you just have strength,
and you have strength and you have durability, and your sum is the greater than the total of its parts. And when I had this aha moment, it was like God patiently saying, finally, you heard me and listened to me and understood me. And I was like, great. And I still don't know everything that we get to build together, but it's kind of exciting.
It's so exciting because also I think like I've performed my whole life, but going and being a speaker on stage is new for me, where you've been a speaker for years, right? But I bring on this side of teaching people to speak that has a more theatrical side of it, a more how to get into your heart of your emotions. Method acting is something I do a lot of, right? And I think a lot of times people become very separated from their stories.
They do. And a lot of the time it's a defense mechanism.
As a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And then you also, what I say, you don't want to do the wave and you're in a hurricane going overboard.
Yeah.
So it's finding that wave where you go into it and coming back out. And that's that symbioticness of it, of letting people feel, but then
and
not
bringing
overpowering and bringing them in with you.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what I hope to be able to work with as you bring in people in and work together to connect those dots. And we're going to connect dots.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's going to be so cool. And first of all, like helping you get on more stages is an amazing thing that I'm like, of course, I would tell anybody, you should have Marianne on your stage. She's incredible. You should have her on her podcast.
We all have dream stages,
We all
right?
have dream stages we want to get on. And I love the idea of just being able to connect more humans to what you're building. This is me. I can stand behind anything this me stands for because I stand behind you. Like I've seen your virtue. And I've also realized like I actually enjoy being in the chorus. Like I've never been the one that has to be the star on stage. And so for me, it's like there will be moments where I'm shining, when I'm producing my music, when I'm speaking, because I know you're going to support me as I continue to be a concert keynote speaker. You're never going to be like, Kristy, you're speaking too much. Like that's not going to be a thing, right? Because if I'm speaking, it's because you helped me get there.
I want that.
You want
I can only touch so many people.
Right.
Right? Tony Robbins can only touch. There are people that have never heard Tony Robbins that need his message, but they have heard of somebody else.
Right.
And they need that person to stand up and own their power and own their voice.
Exactly.
Like you teach.
Yes.
Right? And there's so much need in the universe, in the world, in your local communities where you live. I mean, of course I'm going to push people to the stage. And so if I can back their message, I will not back everyone's message.
And that's important. And back their message, and also teach them how to do it well, because sometimes you've got people on stages who they have a great message and they even have really great stories, but they're boring. And I'm sorry, if they're boring, people are gonna check out. They're gonna be on their phones.
Yep.
They're gonna be doing these things. And so people need us.
Yeah.
They need to learn how to do it well so that people are captivated. I mean, people don't pay for Broadway because it's boring. They pay for it because it's captivating. And when people are going to a business stage or anything else, at least for me, I want to be captivated.
Yeah.
And I know that together we can. Oh man.
Oh, we already are. Just
it's going to be amazing.
With what we did working with Jen and putting her on stage for the first time. That was your event.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And that to watch her take the stage for the first time, deliver her keynote, and Lindsay too. Oh my gosh, I love watching her speak. She's owning her voice in a beautiful way. And just to see this happen over and over and over again, I love the sessions when you and I get to sit down and say, what if we?
Right.
What if we did this?
Because the collaboration is the best part.
What if we made this? What if this? And then something might totally flop. I'm like, oh, well, what if we did this instead? Right?
And that's where the giddiness happens.
Yeah.
That's where the excitement is, because it's deciding we get to create any world we want. And now we get to do it together, which is magical.
Yeah. I'm grateful for you, Kristy. I just have to express how much gratitude I have for the massive. You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah,
the massive.
I'm
when they say that faith is a spiritual gift, you embody that so much. That whatever giant forces try to knock you down, you might fall and get your face in the mud like we all do. But you're like, watch this. But it's that hurt. But watch what we're capable of. Wait and see what happens when we get back up and dust ourselves off and rise like the phoenix that we are inside of us. The gift of faith, not just faith to move forward, but I want to emphasize the lack of doubt. It's hard to prove a negative, as Richard tells me a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I can't prove that. Like when DoorDash says, prove that you didn't get your food, do I send a picture of my hands? Like
it's like, it's not here.
It's not here. But this absence of doubt that you have is such, I don't even know what to call it. It is a superpower, is a gift from God. It's all of these things that makes me want to put people in the room with you. It makes me want to fill your room. It makes me want to fill your stages. It makes me want to just, like, if there's anyone that I ever believed in, I know they need you.
Well, they need us. That's the truth. Let's go.
And they need Renee, so they're not sick along the way. And they need Richard to build their website.
And they need the teams.
And they need Kai to encourage them and give them the first.
That's what I've learned through being on your call, the accountability call, the people we've met there, being in the Hive, I've joined other masterminds this year, and every person I meet, I'm like, we all have a purpose in this world, and it's to make it a better place. Like if we can focus, instead of on our differences, focus on the things that can bring us together, the ways we can serve each other, way we can help each other, like so much goodness can be created.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited to do. I'm excited to do that together. And things are going to happen. I've had a lot of crazy things happen this year that I would have never dreamed, right? A lot of my songs come out of those. My Phoenix song is based because I was scammed out of 6 figures just a few months ago. And I spent about 14 days down, just really having a hard time. I came on that call, and Marianne made me say the words, "I am a success." And I will tell you, I had the biggest lump in my throat. And with tears were streaming down my face in that moment, because I felt anything but a success. I felt gullible. I felt like I had been really, I'd been misled, right? Which made me feel stupid. And she's like, "Nuh-uh, you look in that mirror, you say it, you say I'm a success." And it took me a good minute, and she waited. And that fact that you waited, you didn't move on to someone else. You didn't say, oh, like, we'll get back to her. I was literally sitting there unable to use my voice. And as a vocal coach, that's not a place I spend a lot of time, but I was stuck. And you waited till I said, "I am a success." And then I got up and I wrote that song. And I'm like, I'm never going back. Like, I can't change what happened, but by golly, I'm going to come out so far ahead of it that I will look at that as a moment that just taught me what was really important in life. And that taught me that I need to believe in myself more and invest in me more and invest in the people that are real people around me instead of looking to others for that success.
One day, we're going to do it in episode 2, 3, or 4, right?
Right.
One of our future episodes is going to be, remember that day that the 6 figures was just gone. It evaporated. Look where we are now.
Yeah.
Look where we are now. Look how many people we've been able to put on stage. Look how many businesses are grown. Look how many deserving people are earning profitable revenue from their business because we got up
And we believed.
And we believed. And we exercised faith. And not only did we exercise our mental strength, but we exercised our fortitude big enough that other people were able to lean on it.
And we took action.
Yes.
Every day.
Well, I sure love you, girl. Thank you for being here. So where do people, you've talked about the Heart Center Speaker Network. How do
Yes,
they get it?
Yes, so it is on School, and it's
I'm in there, by the way.
yes, school.com/Heart Center Speaker Network.
We'll put it in the
and it will be
show
in the
notes
thing.
as well.
But yes, please come join. You get a 7-day free trial. And really, it's an important place to collaborate. If you are ready to get on stages and practice being on stages, we're putting each other on each other's podcasts. We're creating podcasts in there. Or if you have this idea, I want to have an event, but I don't know how to do it. Come on, I've put on an event, you guys. And I know a lot of other people in there who are putting on events and need good people. So join the Heart Center Speaker Network, because we're just going to grow and make things amazing together there. And I also get to collaborate now with Marianne. So if you want Marianne or I on one of your stages, we're ready.
Kristy's your girl.
Yes, let's
She's
do
our girl.
it.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
You're wonderful.
I sure love you. I can't wait to see what's next.
Right? It's going to be cool.
Richard's hearing all of this like, oh, what do I get to build?
We have so much
We're
cool
just going to say,
energy.
hey, we designed this thing. And he's like, great, let me get to work.
Yes.
Okay, friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the show, Kristy.
Thank you.
And
You're
we'll see you in the
amazing.
next episode of the Marianne Hickman Show.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We have some pretty amazing speakers on my podcast, and of course, more to come. If this is something that you enjoyed, guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. You guys know what to do. I love your comments, and I respond to every single one of them personally, not a bot or an agency. So if this is something you're enjoying, tell me about it. Tell me your gold nuggets. I want to hear from you. But here's the most important thing I want you to laser in on. I told you about the podcast database. You've probably seen me post about it all over social media. I want to make sure that you get it. So here's what I want you to do. Go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put all of your information in there, I'm going to send you the document. You request access to it. Boom, it's unlocked. Once you're in there, my rule of thumb is to apply to 10 podcasts a month. It's very digestible. It's very easy to do. And the database gets updated twice a week. So I want you constantly checking back in there for the next podcast that fits your audience. Thank you for being here. Much love to you, and we'll see you in the next episode.